What's up, Foxden? Fox here, and in today's video, I'm going to be unboxing my favorite graphics card of all time. Full transparency, okay? Because that's a bold claim. The GTX 950 isn't my favorite graphics card of all time. Chances are, the 3070 will probably be the next one. And if I was in a perfect world with unlimited money, then chances are I would have the 980 Ti here instead. But the 9 series graphics cards are really special to me, even though I never actually got the chance to use one. I guess the person who sent this to me decided to play kickball with the package, even though it's supposed to come with the box and everything. So I spent $83 on this, which I don't know what market trends are like or what the price is compared to, everything like that. But with that said, we do have a GTX 950 in the possession. It's 2 gigs. And I'll go through the specs later on as we get it plugged in and ready to go. But with that said, I'm really curious to see how it turns out after the vigorous game of kickball the USPS people decided to play today. I'm so excited. I mean, this is going to go in my spare PC, no doubt. Although I have a 1060 in the system right now, and that is more powerful than a 950, the 950 cards to me revolutionized what modern gaming is like today. When you think of 4K ready, that was the slogan of the 980 Ti. I mean, they said this would be 4K performance. Granted, it really wasn't, but it was the first foray into 1440p and 4K at the time, and it's what most YouTubers used at the time, and even nowadays it still holds up. This, I think, is the first, next-gen feeling graphics card. So let's do it, because when you have the 780 Ti, you really weren't going super in depth with 1440p or 4K gaming. You were really sticking at 1080p. But this was really some of the first cards to ever introduce the notion that you could play at a higher resolution at 60 FPS. It's still perfectly intact. So I'm debating, right? Because part of what I do on this channel is sell and resell items. Because there's no way. I don't make money off of YouTube. I can't afford to buy graphics cards and keep them, but this may just be the exceptions. You know, I've had midterms week. It's been a hard week. Maybe this will just be a consolation prize. So it's not completely... Oh, okay, there's a little fraying right there, but I'll take that. Oh, it's so beautiful. No way. Yo. Best $80 ever spent. You're talking original factory manuals, even an EVGA logo pin. That's fucking awesome. Wow, a DisplayPort to VGA connector. That's insane. And now it's time to unbox Your Majesty. No. Oh. To the person I bought this from, if by some miracle you're watching this video, you are the nicest reseller I've ever met. You have the original EVGA anti-static mats. Fully intact, no rips or tears, even down to the sticker. Granted, this could be a new sticker. I don't care. I mean, this is the most beautiful packaging I've ever seen on a card like this. So thank you so much. This is... Alright, I've got to make sure to... Yes! Sticker's still intact 100%. This thing could be sold as new, unless it doesn't work. Then we got some problems. Evga Geforce Gtx 950. That doesn't smell that good. Is it ever so beautiful? The original PCIe rubber. It is so clean. I mean, this thing is unbelievably clean. This is the best thing I've ever bought off of eBay. You know what? Just for that, maybe the 950 will be my favorite graphics card. I was even considering doing what Linus did a while ago and hydro dipping this thing. So taking a heat gun, pulling off the plastic, and hydro dipping it to make it all cool and colorful. But I don't even want to touch this thing. This looks like it's in brand new. This is in better condition than my 1080 because, obviously that thing stays in there and I don't clean it off religiously. But obviously if I were to sell it, I would make sure it was this clean. But that is just so beautiful. So we're going to run some games on it. So the 950 is the first graphics card I've ever put in my main build, which means we're going to be giving this thing 64 gigs of RAM and a 3900X to play with. So clearly there's not going to be any bottlenecks. And I'm very happy to say that this is still a very capable card in 2020. So starting off, we're going to warm up the little legs a bit and play some esports titles. So Valorant ran incredibly well at 1440p with everything on the max settings. We were seeing anywhere between 90 and 100 FPS. Obviously, you could turn things down if you want to use the full 144 hertz if you've got that monitor, and even going down to 1080p if you've got a 240 hertz monitor. But it ran very well as CSGO. So the recording for CSGO actually did ruin performance a bit. It was a lot more stuttery when I was using the recording, but when I wasn't recording, it actually had about an extra 10 FPS on top of what you see. So it was running anywhere between 80 and 90 FPS instead of 70 and 80, which was noticeable because of the stutter. But playing it without recording meant there was no stutter at all, and it ran perfectly fine. Fortnite next, and with a mixture of high and medium settings, we were seeing 60 FPS on average. I mean, it's Fortnite, you know, you really don't expect it to run badly on most of this hardware. So I'm very glad to see that it still holds up. The render resolution was 75% because I do have a 1440p monitor, which means that I was just going to 1080p with the 3D resolution instead of playing at full 1440p, because this card really isn't a 1440p card in 2020. I don't even think it was back in the day, because this was the lowest end 9 series card. Games that I haven't recorded, but games that I have played, Borderlands 3 on the medium settings ran at about 60 FPS. When you got into action scenes, I was killing Ratchets. It went down to about 45. So it's up to you whether you think 45 is good enough or if you want to bump the settings down. At the end of the day, Borderlands 3 looks the same no matter what settings you put it on. Even on my 1080, I put it at very low so I can get as many frames as possible. But that's completely personal opinion, and it's up to you whether 45 is good or not. Crysis is another one that I played. At 1080p medium settings, we were seeing 40 FPS on average, which is something to be expected of Crysis. Especially on a 950, I'm very impressed at how well it did. But you're not going to see 60 FPS on Crysis if you want to make the visuals look decent, no matter what graphics card you're using right now. And the hotly anticipated Call of Duty Warzone. Call of Duty ran at 60-ish FPS, anywhere between 50 and 60 frames per second, but I did have it all the way down to 720p. If you went up to 900p, you'd still see around that, but the reason why I went down to 720p is because, in my opinion, 720p with Filmic 2x anti-aliasing was much better than even 1080p no anti-aliasing, because their Modern Warfare is just terrible for anti-aliasing. So you need to have Filmic 2x FXAA if you want to have decent performance, not FXAA, SMAA. But if you want to actually make the game look decent, you need their anti-aliasing, and their anti-aliasing is very bad in that game anyway, but it's worth it to have it on compared to off, because the jagged lines are just so bad, even at 1440p or 4K. So that's how I played it, and it ran very well, so I'm very impressed by it. But it is definitely the one game that I've played that does show the aging. And another game that shows the aging, even though I went through the file system and I changed the INI file for it, Red Dead Redemption 2 refused to launch. It was like, no, you have to have it at the limit or I will not run. So I wasn't able to get gameplay for that. I'd assume if you were to go into more in depth and actually get it running, you'd probably see 30 FPS on the low settings. But otherwise, the card very much impressed me today. I'm fanboying over the 950. I'm going to keep it in my system for a few more days just to mess around with it, not for tests or anything like that. Although I will be making a video on an Xbox One versus a budget gaming PC for the same price, $150, and I think it may include this 950. So with that said, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked the video, like, subscribe, do what you usually do, and as always, buy yourself something nice.